you refresh Pink Caddy Hangout. Welcome. If you're in the Hangout, we're just a minute or two away from starting. We're just doing our final AV checks and making sure the audio. Yesterday, the audio wasn't on for like 5 minutes. And so we want to make sure we catch that earlier today. And we're getting ready to do basically a live encore from yesterday's session, but it'll be a little different. So if you were on yesterday's session, I think you'll get something from this session as well. Because, you know, I'm different. I'm like 18 hours, not even 18 hours. I'm like, I'm the math teacher trying to do math in my head. I'm like 12 hours or 14 hours, however many hours, smarter than I was last night. So welcome to session number 2. So we're all good to go, right? Okay. So what we're going to talk about today is 2 main things. And one of them in the Mary Kay world has been like a poisonous conversation for a long, long time. And we're going to flip that poisonous conversation. We're going to flip the negativity and make it a positive conversation. But it's also going to transfer out to any areas of negativity in your business and in your personal life as well. And before I get into the content, some of you might not know who I am. So my name is Sean Smith. I've been a speaker, author, trainer for over 10 years now. And the primary focus of my work over that decade has been in the Mary Kay world. And I've, grown to know the Mary Kay story, the opportunity, done a lot of coaching, a lot of training in the Mary Kay world with consultants, directors, some nationals. And one of the things that has popped up every now and then, obviously, is the idea of negativity, but specifically in the Mary Kay world, this nasty website that's out there, right? And it gets all kinds of people riled up. So we're going to talk about that website, but we're going to take the power away from it, not only from it, but from you and the negativity that it causes in the Mary Kay world. We're also going to talk about as a leader. So if you're a director or if you're on your way to directorship and you have a team, we're going to talk about how you can really prepare and protect your team members, not only from that website, but from all negativity as well. And we're then going to get into some recruiting tips because no matter what goal you have in Mary Kay, you're pretty much going to have to, start falling in love with recruiting if you don't already love recruiting. So that's what we're going to get into. Let's jump right into the content. So Pink Truth. If you're not familiar with the website, because some people actually haven't heard of the website. We had a few people last night say, I hadn't heard of that website, and I went there and I didn't like it. If you hadn't heard of if you have not yet heard of the website, don't worry about going there. You don't have to go there. But many of you have, and either you've been on the website and got all sucked into it, or you've heard about the website, or maybe you've had team members that heard about the concepts of the website and they left Mary Kay. And even it might not have even been the website. It's just negativity in general, right? I mean, the bottom line is there's some negative sentiment out in the world toward Mary Kay, and that just is what it is. So whatever form it takes, whether it's just people talking to people or this website or any other kind of form, you still have to deal with this negativity, right? Now, I remember going to Pink Truth website, I don't know, maybe 6-7 years ago, and I was enraged, and I'm not a Mary Kay consultant. Now, obviously, I've got a lot of ties to the Mary Kay world. I'm not a part of the corporate structure at all, but I've got a lot of friends, a lot of clients who are in Mary Kay. So I went there and I felt myself just wanting to defend, right? I wanted to tell all these people how dumb they were and how mean everything they were saying is and how ignorant their opinions were. And I probably was there for a good, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes, because that stuff draws you in. That kind of drama actually creates adrenaline that we're unconsciously attracted to. And we just get drawn in. So if you have been to that website or any kind of negative website, or you've been in any kind of negative conversation about Mary Kay, you've probably found yourself getting really drawn in to the discussion. And by you getting emotionally drawn into the discussion, right, it's like you want to fight. You want to fight the contents, the concepts, right? You want to fight the opinions that people are saying about your beloved company or your choice in life, right? So that kind of negativity has sort of like a black hole effect. It'll really draw you in. And once you get drawn in, it's tough to sort of swim your way back out. So I have personally experienced the website, but I've never openly talked about it until last night. And the reason is because 3 nights ago, there was somebody during the Q&A session of my group coaching program, Ignite Your Breakthrough, which I'll tell you about later. They asked about pinktruth.com, and I'd never been asked, to talk about it. And so we had this open discussion about it, and it ended up being pretty valuable. And a lot of people said, it shifted their opinion about it, or they sent me emails or Facebook messages or whatever. And so then I decided to open this conversation up last night. And again, we got a lot of positive feedback about it, because there's a lot of fear inside this idea of the Pink Truth, right? There's a lot of people that are afraid of their consultants touching it or getting affected by it. And there's a lot of fear of touching it personally, right? There's a lot of fear of, people getting swooped out of your business, off of your team. And in the bigger sense, outside of just that website, there's fear of negativity in general. And that fear isn't going to help you deal with it. So what we have to do is we have to remove that fear. And one of the things I know about fear is that we have a fear of something happening based on a certain trigger. And I'm not going to go super deep into a fear training right now, but just to give you an analogy, like most people say they're afraid of talking on the phone, but nobody's afraid of talking on the phone. They're afraid of the outcome of what might happen if you talk on the phone and somebody tells you no, or somebody says get lost, or they say something negative about Mary Kay, right? So your fear is based on the outcome, not the trigger. And the reason that's important is that if you don't handle where the fear actually lives, then all you can do is avoid the phone. And that's not a good strategy in Mary Kay, and it's not a good strategy in life to just try to avoid the fear. So when we handle fear, we have to actually go where the target should be, which is our response to it. So I don't want you to be afraid of Pink Truth. I don't want you to be afraid of people touching Pink Truth. I want you to handle the fear so that you can take your power back. Because if you don't take your power back, then what happens is you're a victim. You're a victim of those people's opinions. You're a victim of the website. You're a victim of the fear that somebody might get taken away from you. And you don't feel like you're empowered. You don't feel like you're at choice. So we have to address this head on. And the first concept here is, and I'm going to specifically talk about the website Pink Truth, but again, this is going to transfer out to all negativity. But the first concept here is to not fuel the fire, right? If you take a look at the website, there's fire on that website. There's anger, there's hatred, there's a lot of blaming and shaming and pointing the finger, right? But if you think about what a fire actually is, a fire is this massively destructive force, potentially, right? If it's not controlled, it can burn down homes, it can kill people, it can burn down forests. It's a massively destructive force. But what does fire require in order to burn? It requires oxygen. It requires this otherwise positive element to create the tension that flames, that fuels the fire, right? So it's the conflict of the two opposites, that actually fuels the fire. And so with something like Pink Truth, if you don't give it the oxygen, if you don't give it the opposite side, then it can't live, right? If all of the Mary Kay consultants and directors just simply didn't give it another, ounce of energy, if you just didn't give it any of our time or attention, the whole website would basically just shrivel up and die, because a conflict requires two sides. So what if we just removed our side? If we just removed our side of the debate, the conflict goes away. So that's an energetic choice that we can all make so that we don't fuel this fire. But in my experience, you have to understand a little bit about the fear and about the emotional attachment and all that stuff in order to make that choice. So I want to give you another couple pieces here. Number one is I want you to understand that anything that's successful is going to breed some level of negativity. I mean, Mary Kay, the company, been around over 50 years, multi-billion, with millions and millions of people that have come in it, either as a consultant or as a customer, or heard about it, you know, from other people's experience. Of course, there are going to be people that don't like it. Of course, there are going to be people that had a negative experience, right? But instead of you focusing on that negativity, just take it as a sign of confirmation, actually, that Mary Kay's up to something big. If Mary Kay wasn't up to something big, there would be no haters, right? Because don't hate on anything that isn't actually successful or powerful on some level. There's no reason to do that. So what if we just took it as a sign of confirmation that Mary Kay, the company, and the consultants, and you are up to something big enough to create that kind of negativity, right? And here's the other thing. This concept really, it changed my life on many levels. This is one of my favorite concepts, and it's understanding pain. Because the reality is, human beings don't hurt other human beings naturally. Humans don't abuse other humans. Humans don't make other people feel bad. That's not a natural behavior. That's why young kids, toddlers, they don't ever hurt their friends until they learn it some way. Either they're hurt or they see somebody else hurting, right? But it's a learned behavior. And really all it is, you know, people playing hot potato with their pain. That's really what it is, because we don't like the feeling of pain. And since we don't like the feeling of pain, what we usually do is push it onto somebody else, right? We blame it on somebody else, or we throw it on somebody else. Or if we feel embarrassed or disempowered, we try to get one up on somebody else so that we can feel that power back, right? So that we can take back control. But the bottom line is, at the core of all of that is pain. And so everybody that's feeding into this website called Pink Truth, they're all living in some level of pain. And I don't want to stand in judgment of them either, right? I'm not condemning them as people. But what I'm saying is, we just have to understand that anybody who would blast something like that is projecting their pain. And on some level, you know, we just have to honor that, because that's their story. And it doesn't mean that we have to fight it, right? But if we understand that it's just pain, we will see it differently. What I've learned is that when a human being sees another human being in pain, there's a sense of compassion that usually shows up. And it's very difficult to get angry at somebody who's in pain. So when you see that this is just pain being projected, it'll be easier for you to find a different place to respond from, or not respond at all. But it'll be so much easier for you to not just want to rage, you know, and just get angry right back at them, because you realize, you know, they're just throwing pain around. And I don't want to get into that, you know, hot potato game of pain. And when you can make that shift, this is the outcome. The outcome is that you're able to embrace what is. You have to embrace the website Pink Truth, because it is. It exists. Most people are angry at it because it shouldn't exist, right? But shouldn't is your judgment. You're saying it shouldn't exist. These people should not have these opinions. And if they do have the opinions, they should keep it to themselves. They shouldn't, you know, throw it out there online and ruin other people's experiences of Mary Kay or cause other people to quit or whatever. They shouldn't be doing that, but that's your judgment. And whether it should happen or not, the fact is, it is. And you don't have any control over what is, other than how will you respond to it. And the best way to respond to it in a way that serves you is to just embrace the existence of anything that is. And this could be internal or it could be external. Like, a lot of people are not willing to embrace their own circumstances. A lot of people are not willing to embrace that they've been in Mary Kay for 10 years and they're still a red jacket, when in their mind they should have been a national sales director by now or driving a pink Cadillac. Well, the bottom line is, you beating yourself up for not being in the Cadillac or not being a national or not being a director or not being wherever you wanted to be, you beating yourself up for that won't change where you currently are. In fact, not only will it not change it, it won't allow you to change it forward until and unless you embrace what is. You embrace where you are and who you are, right? So this is coming from just a much more natural, peaceful, neutral, calm perspective for the sake of empowerment, for the sake of changing what you don't currently enjoy experiencing. But you can't change it until you actually embrace it, right? What most people are doing instead of embracing is they're resisting all this change. And many of you might have heard a concept called whatever you resist persists, but I like to take that a step further. Because not only whatever you resist does let me say it again, not only does whatever you resist persist, but whatever you resist, I think you assist. So resistance actually equals assistance. It's the fuel the fire idea. If you resist and you rage against this idea of pink truth, you're actually assisting their platform. You're assisting their mission, right? It's like you're feeding into what they want you to do. And I'm not all techie and all that stuff, but the more that you get on that site and the more that you visit and the more that you comment and the more energy that's actually put on that site, it actually helps the site be seen on the internet. Because, you know, the internet, Google and all the search engines, they put sites that have activity on them. So the more activity that you put into that site, the more that you're actually raising their visibility and you're assisting their message. Am I saying that right? I have a production person over here, and she's the one that taught me all that like last night. So I was making sure that I actually said it right. She knows all that stuff. So you're actually raising them up, thinking that you're trying to shut them down, but you're actually raising them up. If we look at the techniques or the technical aspect of the internet. So you obviously don't want to do that. You want to embrace and let them be whatever, you know, whatever their ideas are their ideas. And so when we start to make this shift and you realize that you understand what's going on, and then you can come from a place of embracing and not feeding into it, this is like one of the most liberating concepts that I've ever learned, is the idea of what truth actually is. Because most people spend their life searching for and arguing about truth, right? And you take a look at all conflict, basically. All conflict can be boiled down to two sides arguing about who's right. My side is right versus my side is right. You know, and so we argue about what's true, whether it's religious conflicts. I mean, how many people have died under the idea that my religion is true and your religion is not true? How many people hate each other because Democrats are the right position versus Republicans are the right position, right? How many marriages fall apart because the husband and wife are arguing over their definition of truth about money or about raising kids or about anything at all, right? So if you take a look at conflict in general, conflict requires two sides to believe that they're right. And then when you fight over what's true, all you have is a win-lose situation. Somebody's got to win and somebody's got to lose. But what if we actually attack the idea of truth? What if we came at this from a different scenario, from an awareness position, from more of an understanding, more compassionate position? And what if we redefined what truth actually is? Because most people think that truth is real. Truth is the fact, right? But what if we redefine what truth is? Here's my definition of truth. And I don't know if you're going to take this on for you, but what I can tell you is that when I took this on, maybe 7, 8 years ago, the control that I have over my emotions now is insane. Like, I don't remember the last time that I even got mad. I don't remember the last time that I was angry at another person, right? And it's all because of this new concept. And anyway, so here's my definition of truth. The truth is nothing more than a story plus evidence. Because that's the way we see the world. We see the world with a story that we have, and then it creates these filters that we look through, and we find evidence for the stories inside of our filters. And many of you have heard me talk about limiting beliefs, or maybe you've heard that concept. And so if you have a belief that says, you know, I'm not good enough, you're going to look through the filters called I'm not good enough, and you're going to find evidence everywhere of people reacting to you like you're not good enough. If you have a story called money is the root of all evil, you'll find evil people that have a lot of money so that your story can be true. We are constantly searching for evidence to support our stories. And if you break down what the truth actually is, it's just a story with a lot of evidence. The more evidence you get, the more that your story feels true. But it doesn't actually make the story factual. That's a difference. It doesn't actually make the story factual. It just means you have more evidence. But how many times have we seen that two people have different stories with mountains of evidence for both of them? Then how do we decide? And isn't it quite egotistical for us to say, well, my story is right because I have all this evidence. And even though you have all this evidence, well, you're looking at the world the wrong way. I'm actually looking at the world the right way. How egotistical is that of us to think that just because it's our view of the world, it's the right view of the world? And in my definition of truth, and you can take it on if you want, I'll tell you, it'll make you a happier human being. You can take it on if you want, or you can, you know, you can let it go. But in my definition of truth, if there are ever two opinions, then this thing that we're talking about isn't necessarily a fact, right? And it doesn't mean that you have to stop believing what you believe. That's the misunderstanding that a lot of people have. I can believe that I can hold on to my beliefs as an opinion and still firmly believe in them and completely live my life according to them, but still not believe that somebody else should have my same beliefs because these beliefs are true. And when you can detach from the idea, and it's really a projection, when you can detach from projecting your beliefs on other people, you'll be a happier human being. You'll be in more control of your emotions. You'll be in more control of your decisions. So if we just put this on for a second, I just want you to put it on like an outfit. If you just put this on like a different set of lenses that you're going to see the world through. If truth is a story plus evidence, then truth really is an opinion, and truth is based on other people's perception and other people's experience of the world. And so I can stand in my truth and you can stand in your truth. And your truth can be 100% different than my truth on every level. And we can still be friends. We can still hang out together. We can still love each other. We can still do things together because there's a separation between my truth and your truth. And there's no reason for us to fight about that when every single one of us has a complete, unique recipe of experiences in life. There's nobody on the planet that's had the same exact experiences in life. You got people's childhoods that are so different. Their experience with money, with religion, with success, with business. Everybody's experience is so uniquely theirs. It would be crazy for us to expect even two people, just any two people, to have the same truth. There's going to be difference everywhere, and it's all based on the individual's experience in their past. So what I can tell you is, if you adopt this idea of truth, then you can let peak truth still exist as it is, but not take it on as your truth. That's the key. And not fight about it as the truth, right? So it's really about how are we positioning truth. And on the website, I believe it actually says the truth. So they're telling you that this is the actual truth. But really what they're screaming is, this is my truth. This is my experience. I haven't had a good experience of Mary Kay, and people like to share all of their negative experiences, right? But when you hear their truth, I just want you to process it through your head as their truth. And that doesn't have to be my truth. And that's where, if you go through this sort of evolution here, right? We're going to stop feeding the fire. We're going to start to embrace what actually is. We're going to take some of our emotion back. Then we're going to shift it and actually understand what truth is. Now we can take it on ourselves. And this is where it becomes empowering, right? And here's another piece. I kind of already alluded to this. But if you are going to fight a battle, just don't fight it on enemy territory, right? And this is the whole idea. I already kind of jumped ahead of myself, where if you are going to get into the discussions, don't do it on their website. There's a place for you to share your reality. And in a few minutes, I'm going to tell you what we're setting up for you to do. There's a place for you to share your story, and it shouldn't be on their website, right? Because that's their territory. That's where they own all the decisions. And if they don't like your story, they will delete it, right? And that's not going to feel good to you. So you got to take ownership and control back of where you share your story. So here's the final piece here is the goal in all of this is emotional immunity. Emotional immunity. You can't make the website go away. You can't make the negativity in the world about Mary Kay go away, but you can become emotionally immune to it. You can't decide or try that you'll never touch the negativity again. You could just make sure that the negativity never touches you. Well, that was a good one. So you can't stop yourself from ever touching that negativity because it's out there, but you can protect yourself from the negativity ever touching you. And that's emotional immunity, and that's all on you. And then the final piece here is that education equals empowerment. So let me talk about leadership for a second. If you're a leader, if you're a director in Mary Kay, or you have a team on your way to director, or whatever level you're at, if you're a leader, trying to protect your team from negative experiences is not empowering. It's not empowering for them, and it's not empowering for you, because you're always going to be looking around like, where are the children going, right? Are they getting in anything they shouldn't be getting into? And you're just going to have all these boundaries around them, and don't look at this and don't look at that, and that's going to be so exhausting for you, right? It's like the herding cats analogy. It's going to be so exhausting. I would rather you be empowered and empower them with preparation for the truth, right? On the website, or on the webinar last night, we had somebody who was watching. She's a very, very high level leader in the direct sales world, and she said, you have to inoculate your team. That's exactly what she was talking about. You got to inoculate your team, meaning if they're going to potentially bump up against negativity out there, then wouldn't you rather prepare them for that? Prepare them for that. Because if they're on the fence and if they're not fully committed yet and they touch some of that negativity and they get scared and you haven't told them about that, and it's just up to them to make their own judgments on the fly when all kinds of other influences might be telling them to leave Mary Kay or it's a cult or whatever, it's probably going to push them away. But if you've prepared them and you say, listen, there are a lot of people out there who've had negative experiences. There are people who've had maybe a really pushy consultant. There are people who joined Mary Kay and had a negative experience with their director or somebody else in the company, and they've projected it all on Mary Kay. The reality is there are some negative opinions about Mary Kay out there. And what's most important is what's going to be your experience. Not letting everybody else's experience determine what you're going to choose to do in your life. What's going to be your experience? I want my team members, I want my children to be able to think for themselves. I want them to be educated about everything that they might bump up against, everything that they might experience in the world as much as I possibly can, so they can think for themselves and think on their feet. And that way they're going to be more independent, which is everything you want in your business anyway, right? So as a leader, I think it's dangerous to not inoculate your team. I think it's dangerous to not give them that preparation. And inoculate, I actually had it looked up just to find the exact definition. Inoculate is basically, it's like to treat with some sort of vaccine to make you immune to some disease, right? And the disease we're talking about here is negativity. Whether it's the form called website or any other form out there, it's that disease. And one of the things that make people quit all the time in direct sales is experiencing that negativity without preparation that they will experience the negativity. Because if they think that everything about Mary Kay is all positive and they'll never have anybody give them any kind of resistance, then as soon as they hit it, it'll feel like they're doing something wrong. It will feel shocking to them. And the human brain, the psyche, doesn't like surprises like that, right? So I'd rather you prepare them ahead of time so that they'll know how to think, so that they'll know this is okay, this is just what is out there. The world has negativity out there. Mary Kay is no different. And give them an opportunity to really respond to that in an empowered way. So protection isn't going to lead to the result that you want in your business, and avoidance, protection and avoidance. So let's completely shift this now. Let's now take this idea of what truth is and let's make it ours. Let's make it yours. What's your pink truth? So if we say truth is story plus evidence, and pink is obviously related to Mary Kay, what's your story in the Mary Kay world that you've gained evidence for? That's what matters. It doesn't matter what anybody else's story is. It's what is your story, and what will your story be? And the first question for you is, what are you searching for? Because whatever you're looking for in life, you're always going to find. So are you looking for evidence of negativity in Mary Kay, or are you looking for evidence of positivity and empowerment in Mary Kay? Are you looking for the people that don't have the money and keep telling you that Mary Kay's a cult? Or are you looking for the people who are foaming at the mouth for something more in their life? And I can tell you this, 95% of the people, if not more, want something more in their life. But if you keep focusing on the people that say they have no money, and they say, one of my cousins did one of those things, and it's a pyramid, it's a scheme and all that stuff. If you keep focusing on that and searching for it, then you'll find it everywhere. So it's how you choose to search that's going to determine your experience in life in general, as well as Mary Kay. And the big question here is, what will your story be? And it's not only what your story has been up until now. I want you to take control over your future too. I want you to pre-decide what your story is going to be, because we have that power of pre-decision, and then we search for it and we find it. 5 years ago, many of you know this story, my dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And as soon as he was diagnosed, I went through all this whirlwind of emotions. And as we started to tell people, everybody was projecting all this miserable future onto me. They were saying, oh my gosh, my dad died of that, or my husband's friend, or my aunt died of cancer, and it's going to be so awful, and I'm so sorry for you. And I get that they were trying to do the best they could to console me and support me, but after about a half a day of that, I just thought, I have the chance to co-write my father's last chapter, and I'm not going to write it with misery. So I don't care what everybody else experienced with their journey of cancer. That's not going to be my story, and that's not going to be my dad's story. And I remember I was sitting with my wife, and we were talking about like one particular comment just kind of threw me over the edge. And I just said, forget all that. This is going to be beautiful. And I don't know where the word beautiful came from. And beautiful and cancer usually don't go together. But I said, for me and for my dad, this is going to be beautiful. For no other reason than I say so. Because this is his final chapter. And I took that on as a sacred opportunity for me to color his final chapter of life. And I'll be damned if I'm going to do it with misery. So I said, it's going to be beautiful. And here's what I found. Everywhere I looked, I found beauty in pancreatic cancer. I found beauty in him needing to rely on me more. I found beauty in the connection that we had. And I could have easily found all the irritation. I could have easily found the misery. I could have easily found the sadness. And there was plenty of it. but I chose to search for and live in the beauty. And I did that with pancreatic cancer. Like, what if you did that with Mary Kay? I mean, we're talking about an opportunity to get people to experience products that help them look better and feel better and join a business that could potentially help them change their life and make more money and be liberating. What if you just chose that every step of the way, with every phone call, with every human interaction, it's going to be, and then fill in the blank, however you want it to be. Is it going to be fun? Is it going to be empowering? Is it going to be beautiful? Is it going to be amazing? Is it going to be wonderful? However you want it to be, you have the power to say, this is how it will be. And you claim that as your journey, and everything will fit into that. Why? Because that's the evidence on the last sheet. That's the evidence that you are only willing to tolerate. You won't tolerate any other evidence, especially evidence that other people are trying to give you. You won't tolerate that, because this is your story. This is your pen. You have it. Don't give the pen to anybody else. You're writing your life story. You're writing your experience inside of Mary Kay. Guard that pen, and you write whatever you want to write. And Mary Kay is not here to rescue you. Mary Kay is nothing more than an opportunity. It's a vehicle for you to win at life, whatever you want to win, you know, whatever that looks like to you. Mary Kay is a vehicle for you to do that. Mary Kay is not going to work for you. But Mary Kay is a neutral opportunity for you to create whatever experience you want to create, no matter where you are in your business. I don't know how many hundreds of people are watching this right now. No matter where you are, you all have the same opportunity that came in that box. You have the same access to the website. You have the same access to the training. The same opportunity that some consultants have and they struggle with is the same opportunity that the national sales director have. They don't have access to anything different. They sell the same products. They have access to the same events. It's the same opportunity. The question is, what do you do with it? So it's not Mary Kay's job to cause you to win in life. It's your job to take the vehicle and do whatever you want to do with it. It's a tool. And that puts responsibility on your lap, which is exciting because that puts control in your space. And you control this opportunity. You control your experience called life. And when you say, I control this, now the question is, how are you going to control it? How are you going to steer this? What are you going to be more committed to? And I want you to be more committed to fulfillment than accomplishment. See, most people are driven by accomplishments. In the Mary Kay world, most people are driven by achieving a status. Red jacket, director, pink Cadillac, unit club, national. Most people are driven by accomplishment. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. We don't want to totally get rid of achievement, because that's a fundamental element of building a business and making money and all that stuff. I'm not saying we're going to get rid of it. But most people are driven by it, or they think they're driven by it. And this is not a Mary Kay problem. This is a people problem. It's just that people are also in Mary Kay. In life, most people think that achievement or accomplishment will bring happiness and fulfillment and joy. And it doesn't work that way. It never has worked that way, and it never will work that way. So by you focusing on what can I achieve, what can I do, and then hoping that that's going to prove yourself to somebody else, prove yourself to yourself, it's going to give you this sense of satisfaction, you'll find that the accomplishment of a goal by itself won't give you any of that. And then you'll just be left with this empty feeling of success. I want you to be committed to what you want to experience in life. What will fulfill you? What are your values? That might be joy or happiness or truth or integrity. Let's say you have a value of integrity, and that gives you a sense of fulfillment. And then at the end of the month, you have an option to do something that's a little out of bounds so that you can hit that goal, so that you can make that achievement happen before the seminar year is over, so that you can sit in the seat that you want and wear the jacket that you want, but you wear that jacket knowing you didn't actually accomplish this the way you wanted to accomplish this. That will haunt you. Not only will it haunt you, it'll set a precedent that it's okay to cut corners just to get the achievement of something. And in Mary Kay, many of you have experienced this. So I know I'm talking about something that's a little taboo, but it's reality. Many of you have experienced this. When you cut corners to get somewhere, most of the time you won't stay there, right? If you just try to get a bunch of people in, whether it's off of the promotion or you try to get a bunch of people just to help you, move past that 24 number and get into the director's suit, right? If you try to just get people in, you lower the bar and just grab everybody in, a couple months later, you're going to realize you don't actually have a team that can achieve directorship. And if you don't have the foundational team that can produce directorship numbers, you shouldn't be a director. And trust me, I would rather you have the focus on building the foundation and let the accomplishments take care of themselves than focus on the accomplishments and hope your foundation will come with it. I've never met anybody who's had their foundation come after the accomplishment. And it hurts more to climb that hill and then fall all the way back down. And you're going to do a lot of damage internally. You're going to do a lot of damage emotionally. So if your higher commitment is to integrity, is to truth, is to doing it the right way, is to feeling better about yourself, is to service, or whatever your commitments are, I'm not going to tell you what they should be, but you have to decide that. Whatever your values are, be more committed to the fulfillment of your values than accomplishing anything in Mary Kay. And here's what I know to be true. It will make all of your accomplishments infinitely easier when your fulfillment is not on the line. I promise you that. So I'm not saying don't accomplish. I'm actually telling you you'll do it easier. You'll do it faster, and it'll stick when it happens if and when you're more committed to your fulfillment. So I want you to shift all of this energy, whether it's negativity in general or talking about Pink Truth, and I want you to take it in and own it. And I want to start a movement. This all came out of last night's live webinar. Stephanie Redmond left a comment. Thank you again, Stephanie. And she said, what if we, let's hashtag my Pink Truth. And it's already got a little bit of traction so far. We haven't really announced it other than just on the end of the webinar last night as it sort of organically showed up. But here's what I want to do. I want to start a movement in the opposite direction. And I want to use these two words right next to each other, which up until now has been poisonous in the company. And I want to take that energy back. And you can let them have their version of the Pink Truth, their version. But let's create a platform. Let's create a better area for you to tell your version of your Pink Truth. So we're going to start a hashtag. And the hashtag is my Pink Truth. And I want you to think about what's your story in Mary Kay. And there's three main components of your story in Mary Kay. Number one, what's your purpose? You all have a purpose in Mary Kay. Many of you have worked on, what is your why, what's your mission, what's your vision? What's your purpose in Mary Kay that you're going to claim as your experience? This is what you will experience regardless of what anybody else says or does. This is what you will experience. Number two, what's your passion? And these are going to be linked. These are absolutely going to be linked. And then number three, what's your path? What is your purpose? What is your passion? And what is your path? So if you're on pinkcaddyhangout.com right now, or if you're on Facebook and you can type into Facebook, wherever you are on social media, I want you to hashtag my Pink Truth. And I want you to tell me, what is your passion? What is your purpose? What is your passion? And what will your path be? You just claim this. You say, my path is going to be empowering women to feel better about themselves and love themselves, or whatever it is. Don't take my words. I want you to put your words in. But I want you to hashtag, and I want you to start claiming that this is my story. This is my story, and it will be my story. And nobody else's experience is going to dictate or take away from my story, my experience in Mary Kay, because you joined this company for a reason. And if you're struggling in this company, I can almost guarantee you, with all of my years of private coaching one-on-one, I can virtually guarantee you inside that struggle, you've moved away from these three things. You've forgotten why you signed up. Why did you sign your name on that line in the first place? When you forget about these things, you're much more vulnerable and susceptible to all the negativity or all the doubts and the fears that are internal for you. You're more susceptible to fall off that path because you're not rooted right here. So I want you to be rooted right here. So hashtag MyPinkTruth and tell us these 3 elements. And we're going to start. I just bought a website today, and it's called mypinktruth.net. It's not ready yet, but we're going to give you a platform, right? They have their platform. We're going to give you a platform to tell your story, and with a little bit of diligence, with a little bit of consistency. I know it's just a matter of time before the voices on this new platform outweigh the voices on that old platform. And when we put more into the flower instead of the weed, you're going to really like the way your garden looks. You're going to really like the way your life feels because you're watering your flowers instead of yelling at the weeds, right? Stop growing. It's not how it works. So I can't tell you how excited I am about this whole new concept and this shift. And I want to take power back from all the negativity, specifically from that website, without condemning them, right? We don't ever have to be mad at them to just say, okay, that's your story. Thank you for sharing it. I'm going to reject it because that's not my story. My story is this. I claim happiness. I claim prosperity. I claim abundance. I claim joy. I claim empowerment. Whatever it is, that's my story. You can have yours. I'm writing a different book than you. And there's nothing wrong with 2 people writing different books. So hopefully this has been a valuable discussion all around this whole idea of pink truth and negativity. And what I want to do before we end this webinar is I want to talk to you about recruiting tips, right? Because once you start taking your power back, then you've got to recruit. I mean, every goal that you have pretty much involves you recruiting. And I want you to fall in love with recruiting in a different way. Most people show up in recruiting differently than they need to in order to create the success that they really want to. But because of the time, this conversation took a little bit longer, which is a shocker, right? For any of you that know me, it's shocking that I actually took a little bit longer on this conversation. But because it went a little bit longer, and I know some of you, only have an hour or whatever, I'm going to come back to recruiting tips. But I want to tell you about a new program that I've got because we're closing the doors pretty soon. And the program, so I'm going to flip ahead. I'm going to come back to the recruiting stuff, I promise. But I'm going to flip ahead just so that you know about the program, right? And if it's for you, great, jump in. If it's not for you, great. I'm just going to spend a few minutes on it. It's called Ignite Your Breakthrough. And it's a group coaching program. It'll go all the way through June because I know that most of you have goals for the end of the seminar year. So I want my support to last all the way through that time period. We're going to go all the way through June. It ends up being about 13 calls. We've done 3 of them so far, and we're closing the doors before we do the 4th call. And the 4th call is on Monday, April 11th. So before we do that 4th call, we're not going to let anybody in after a full third of the program has been completed. But if you jump in, you can actually just listen to the archives of all the calls that we've done already immediately, right? So you can jump in and get caught up as fast as you can. We're going to talk about not just the external components of Mary Kay, recruiting, sales, objections, and all those things, but we're going to talk about the inside game because it's the inner game that's going to cause you to win or lose in Mary Kay all the time. So we're going to really dive into your beliefs about money, about success, about yourself, about Mary Kay, about negativity, about fears. We're going to really dive in. And I haven't done a Mary Kay program, specifically Mary Kay program, for about like 16 months or so, about a year and a half. So I'm excited to do a Mary Kay only program, but I'm also excited to teach some of these concepts that I've learned in the last year and a half that I haven't taught inside of any Mary Kay program yet. So there's a lot of new info here. Here's the website. You can read more about the website. There's bonuses. Over $500, you get access to a lot of the past programs that I've done. You get coupons to use towards coaching or towards products. You get a free coaching session. So there's a lot of bonuses worth well over $500. I think it's quite more than that. And here are the investment options. There's 2 options. Paid in full is just under 200 bucks. It's $199 if you pay in full. If you need a payment plan, it's just 3 payments of $78 a month. And as always, it's 100% guaranteed. So just give it a try, right? Because a lot of people are afraid of taking action because they don't want to lose money. They don't want to, you know, get embarrassed, or they don't want to experience failure or whatever. But if it's 100% guaranteed, you just jump in. You have 33 days to decide if you like it or not. And if you don't like it, then just let us know. We'll give all your money back. And, you know, no harm, no foul. So the website is pinkcaddycoach.com/ignite. If you want to read a lot more, there's, you know, a lot more information on it. It explains more about the bonuses, you know, gives you some stories of some people who went through the work, etc. So I just wanted to give that to you because I've gone so long, in case any of you are interested in that. And again, we're going to cut it off in 3 days from now, right? So if you're going to jump in, and we'll get you caught up. Now, let's go back to this recruiting content. Once you've shifted and you've claimed that this is going to be your story in Mary Kay, you've also got to shift some energy around recruiting. And recruiting is not about what you do. Recruiting is more about how you be. It's more about your energy. It's how you show up. It's how you interact with people. It's the energy that you flow with, right? Most people show up in a recruiting environment like you're there to conquer. You know, I'm going to conquer you and I'm going to get you into my company. And if you resist, then I'm going to overcome all of your objections, and somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose here. And when you show up with that kind of energy, there's always going to be conflict. And I haven't met hardly anybody that enjoys conflict and enjoys creating conflict, especially in the Mary Kay world. So we've got to shift that so recruiting doesn't feel like conflict. It just feels like inviting. It feels like sharing. And I know you get this consciously. I know you get this intellectually. I know even a lot of the words that we use in Mary Kay, such as sharing instead of recruiting, I know we use language that moves us toward that concept, but I also know most people don't get it in their bodies. So just because you understand intellectually, most of you that understand intellectually, you still feel crushed when people say no to you. And if you still feel crushed, or you still feel frustrated, or you're still sabotaging yourself, not wanting to make the phone calls, that means you get it intellectually, but it's not in your body yet. You don't get it emotionally. And that's really what matters, is do you get it emotionally? And that's got to be an energetic shift. So let's break this down. The first thing I want to talk about is the 4 biggest mistakes that I see. If you just got rid of some of these mistakes or pulled back on some of them, your recruiting results would be better. And the first one is talking too much. Talking too much it's an intellectual exercise, right? And the more that you're talking, the less that they're talking. And people make decisions emotionally. If you're talking, they're listening to your information, and they're not going internal. They're not discovering or exploring or uncovering what they really want in life because they're listening to you. Even if you're telling them what they should want in life, or you're telling them what you want in life, that's not what they want in life. And so the more they talk, the better the chance is that they will touch something inside of them that causes them to make a choice to do something different in their life. The more you talk, the less of a chance there is for them to make the decision that they have to make to join your business. And this second piece is right in line with that. When you're talking, most of the time, you're just transferring information. You're talking from your intellect to their intellect. And intellect has never driven anybody to accomplish anything significant in life. It's passion, it's purpose, it's a mission, right? That's what's going to drive people. I'm not saying information is not somewhat important to some people sometimes. It is. But it's not what's going to drive people beyond the sabotage, beyond the emotional challenges that they have. So the more time that you're spending on information, the more you're speaking from your head to their head. I want you to speak from your heart to their heart. I want you to get them talking. I want you to be doing more asking instead of telling, right? I want you to become an asking machine, not an answering machine. Don't just give a bunch of information. Ask for the information. And that will cause them to be drawn more toward you and more toward them, what they need to decide to change their life. See, a lot of people show up in the Mary Kay world, and this is direct sales in general, not just a Mary Kay problem, but most people show up in Mary Kay and they try to sell the Mary Kay opportunity. They try to sell the Mary Kay products. The first thing you should try to do is sell this person on their own dreams. Because Mary Kay is a potentially life-changing vehicle. But that doesn't mean anything if somebody hasn't chosen to change their life. But as soon as they've chosen to change their life, now Mary Kay is a potential yes for them. And here's the cool thing. They've already bought their dreams at some point in the past. You're just reminding them. Don't try to get them to buy your dreams. Don't try to get them to buy Mary Kay's dreams. Just remind them of their dreams. And when they re-buy their dreams, now Mary Kay is relevant to the conversation. And inside of all of this, you've heard this time and time again, don't take rejection personally, but I changed rejection to responses. It's basically the same concept, but most people are taking responses personally. Like, I'm going to say whatever I'm going to say, you're going to say what you're going to say, and if you say the wrong thing, then I'm going to take it personally, like I messed up, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not a leader, or so-and-so was right about Mary Kay being a cult, or never, it's never going to work. Those responses are just their responses. Everybody responds to the world according to their experience of the world. I don't know how many of you are on, these platforms right now. Let's say there's 300 people on. There's 300 different experiences of me. And I'm the same person for all of you. But you see me differently. And you see me according to your experiences in life. According to whether you ever met some guy with no hair and maybe they were a jerk. And so now my first trigger for you might be, this guy's probably a jerk. And now I have to, get over that. Or maybe you don't like purple shirts, or maybe you don't like people who ride on flip charts, right? Anything that you've experienced in your past that's being triggered by me or this whole environment is going to dictate and determine your view of me, your judgment of me. So in reality, your perception of me really doesn't have much to do with me. It has to do with your experience in the world, and other people's perceptions of you really doesn't have anything to do with you. It has to do with their experiences and perception of the world. So like I said earlier, maybe it's somebody who's had a terrible experience in Mary Kay. They had this pushy salesperson that was just driven by ego, driven by desperation. She just kept calling at the end of the month, trying to get this lady to buy products. And that was her valid experience of Mary Kay. So when you show up and talk about being a Mary Kay consultant, of course that negative experience is going to get triggered. And then if she vomits all of that onto you, so what? That's her response according to her experience. It's not her response according to your value as a person. So understand, everybody's responses it's based on their sacred journey, right? It's based on their unique experience of life. And that's okay. You got to let them have their experience. And when you can separate yourself emotionally, then I want this to be your mantra when it comes to recruiting. I want you to say, I invite, they decide. All you can do is make invitations. You can make invitations for somebody to give you a name and number, make invitations for them to show up to an event, make invitations for them to join, for them to buy a product, for them to say hi to you. Like, all you can do is just make invitations, and every single person has the right and the responsibility to choose whatever they're going to choose based on all the things we talked about, right? I invite, they decide. And then the fourth biggest mistake, I hear this talked about all the time again, but it's still something that poisons a lot of people's experience in recruiting, and it's prejudging. When you judge that somebody's not going to be a good fit for your business and don't talk to them, or you judge that somebody will be a perfect fit for your business and you decide to talk to them, you're making your process harder. You're not simply inviting and letting them decide. You're deciding for them first before you invite. And the problem with that is that it leads to expectations. And here's one of the most important and empowering concepts I've learned in personal development. The quickest way to misery is to place expectations on other people. Because when they don't do what you've decided they're supposed to do, you get to deal with the fallout. You get to deal with the anger, the frustration, because you're so mad that they didn't do what they were supposed to do. All that is your projecting of expectations. But when you remove that and all you do is invite, you let them decide, you don't prejudge them, because there is no character trait of success in Mary Kay that's visible. Listen to that. There is no character trait of success, of predictable success that's visible. You can't look at somebody and go, oh, I know they're going to win, or I know they're going to lose. You take a look at all the nationals, all the directors, everybody who's at every level of success in Mary Kay, outside of Mary Kay. You take a look at any platform, any institution, there is no visible characteristic of success, which means the only characteristic that's going to determine whether somebody succeeds or not is inside them. You can't see that. So any judging that you do is a waste of your energy. And you're going to walk right by people that might have been fantastic in your business, and you're going to latch on to people that you probably shouldn't even be talking to, right? Or you should just talk to and then remove yourself from that conversation really quick because they don't have what it takes inside. And I don't care if people can succeed in Mary Kay. One of the things that I hear all the time, it's like nails on a chalkboard now to me, is the if they only idea. Like, she could be so good if she just wanted to join Mary Kay. And I go nuts. I'm like, listen, that's the biggest if in the whole world, if she wanted to. That excludes her. It doesn't matter what she could accomplish. If she doesn't want to, she doesn't want to. And so I want you to find people who want to. There's enough people on this planet who are foaming at the mouth, who are searching for opportunities. Find them. Get in front of them. Don't try to take people who could be really good if they just wanted to and then try to change their mind. Unless that's your gig. Unless you join Mary Kay to try to change people's minds, then you go ahead and keep that one. But it won't work very well, I promise you. And you'll probably have to just check all of your goals and your happiness and enjoyment of this opportunity at the door, because you can't keep those together, right? All right, so the most important internal shift for recruiting is to go from selling, and I already alluded to that, where you kind of show up like you're gonna conquer somebody, I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna either win or lose. If you show up with the selling energy, then there's always a potential for loss, right? So if you show up in the idea that I'm going to get a name and number, I'm going to get a prospect, I'm going to get the next person on my team that's going to put me into the Cadillac or whatever your goal is, then you're showing up with something to gain. And if you're showing up with something to gain, then you also will be showing up with something to lose. It's just the potential. Those two come together. If you have something to gain, you're also going to have something to lose. But when you switch that to service and you really live your life from a place of service, there's nothing to lose. I call it the evil twin. Service doesn't have an evil twin. If you really show up with the invitation mindset, I'm going to invite you to change your life. If you say no, that's okay. That's your choice. If somebody says no, that doesn't mean that's the wrong answer. It's the right answer. Otherwise, they would have given you the other one. What if you just decided that every single answer is the right answer? No matter what comes out of that human being's mouth, it's the right answer. For them, for now. Then you won't have all the irritation that shows up in recruiting, and you really truly will. You really truly can live inside of this energy of service, so that it's not just this idea in your head, but energetically you're still connected to people saying no to you, right? And that's how you can tell if you've made that shift. If rejection shuts you down, then you really don't have that in your energy yet. You don't have that in your body. And when you make that shift, objections become way easier. The first thing you have to fundamentally understand is that questions equal interest. And it's just a part of the process, right? You're supposed to provide an opportunity, and they're supposed to ask questions. I would be more concerned with somebody that jumps into an opportunity, especially if they're going to join a business, without questions. I'd be concerned about that person. That sounds to me like maybe they're jumping in the car trying to go somewhere with no map. And they don't have any directions. They don't even really care about where they're going to go. They just want to drive a car, right? Like, I would be concerned about getting in the passenger seat with that person. So I actually want people to have questions. I want them to have interest. I want them to move closer to the yes, because that's really what the questions are. It's an opportunity for you to answer one of their, like they're going to show up with something to either confirm or deny, and it gives you the opportunity to either confirm or deny it with them. It gives you the opportunity to help them write their story, right? And possibly have Mary Kay be a part of that. But it can't be your intention to get them to say yes. You want them to decide. I want them to say yes or no. I don't know is not a decision. Yes or no are both fine, because you will have no's and you will have yeses. Just the faster you get people to a yes or no, the faster you're going to build your business. And the more that you're going to disconnect yourself emotionally. I already mentioned this part, so I'm not going to talk much more about it. Their questions and their objections are also based on their experiences of past everything in their life, Mary Kay specifically. Number 2, would you please have fun, right? Just put on your fun face, smile. Fun is one of the most missing ingredients, in my opinion, in the world. Most people are not truly having fun in their life, right? Especially adults. We have this game plan and we think that we're going to go, get the house and have the family and, 2.5 kids and a dog and a white picket fence, or whatever that looks like for you, whether it's becoming a certain kind of, like succeeding in a certain career, becoming a broadcaster or an artist or whatever that looks like for you. And then we get there and then we don't like what's next kind of thing, right? Like we don't really feel that sense of fulfillment, and we don't know like where the next step actually is, and all of that takes away our fun. All that, for most people, not everybody, but all of that sort of takes away from the feeling that I'm here and I love being here and I've got one shot on this planet and I'm going to enjoy every single day. Most people are not living that way, and I'm not condemning them, and honestly, I don't live that way in every moment either. But for most people, they're so far away from pure joy and fun that when you engage them with fun, when you introduce that into your conversations, into the energy, they will be more drawn and attracted to fun than anything else you can tell them about Mary Kay. I promise you, fun is a better recruiting tool than anything else you can put in front of them. And I want you to actually have fun. Don't pretend to have fun. Actually have fun. And when you do all the things we've been talking about, claiming your truth, claiming how it's going to be, writing your story, you can actually have fun because it's built in to you taking over, right? The third thing here is that you address the main objections during the presentation. So we know there are going to be 3 main objections. The 3 main objections are going to be ability, which means can I do this? Time, I can't fit this in my schedule, and money. You know those are going to be the 3 main objections. And what happens is at the end of a presentation, people's resistance wall goes up because now is that time where they have to make a decision, and they're going to come up with objections almost all the time, and then you're going to get into this debate with them, right? I mean, you guys might as well just be like on 2 different sides of the courtroom, because somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose at that point. And they get to choose how rooted they're going to be in their objections. But if you take their objections away during the presentation, then there won't be all that resistance that comes up at the end because you've already handled it. So that could look like telling a story of somebody who didn't think they could do it and they did succeed. Or maybe that's you, telling a story who was super busy but they found a way, they made time. Because time and money are all about value. We all have enough time for anything that's important to us. And we all have enough money, or we will find the money for anything that is super, super valuable. So these are value conversations, time and money. And if they see Mary Kay as a super valuable thing that could get them out of their current level of circumstances and misery or pain or whatever and achieve something better in their life, the value of that is going to outweigh the time or the money. You gotta put that inside the presentation so that it doesn't happen during the debate phase, right, at the end. And then this final piece is, again, I've already alluded to all of this, but just to give you language around it, explore the objections, don't overcome the objections. Show up with questions, not with answers. So if somebody says, well, I just don't have enough time, instead of you going, yes, you do, which is basically like you're invalidating the comment that they just made. And that's the best way to break rapport immediately, is invalidate somebody's opinion, especially of themselves, right? When they say, I don't have enough time, you go, oh, yes, you do. You might as well say, you're stupid, and let me prove to you how stupid you are by telling you how much time you have. Don't get into that. Just ask another question. Really, how much time are you thinking that it's going to take? Or how much time don't you have? Or what is the value of time? Like, just ask whatever questions are coming to you out of curiosity so that you can explore the objections instead of giving them your answer to their objection, because whoever has the objection also has the answer. Don't give them your answer. Explore, poke around, identify, ask more questions, and see if you can help them find their answer to their own objection. Because if they really truly do want to change their life, then inside that objection, like at the core, is a reason. And you've probably heard this concept. The reason most people use why they shouldn't do something is the very reason that they need to do it. So if somebody says, I don't have time to change my life, my question is, how can you not have time to change your life, and how long do you want to have that problem? You know, if somebody says, I don't have enough money to do something that I really want to do, my immediate question is, how long do you want to hold on to that situation? How long do you want to hold on to that excuse? I mean, we're talking about your life, you get one shot, right? But if you come from that angle and that energy of just explore, like, I don't understand that. Explain that to me. A lot of people can't explain their own objections because they never attacked them and challenged them before. And you'd be amazed at how many people will untie their own knots just by you asking them questions. So finally, with this content, we're going to talk about the 5 characteristics of the world's best recruiters. And the first one is that the world's best recruiters are consistent and they are relentless. Consistency is key. You can't create a habit without consistency. Most people try to succeed in anything with their willpower. And so if you're trying to succeed in Mary Kay with your willpower, your success at best is going to go up and down because you're not going to have your willpower on all the time. But the world's best recruiters create consistent habits, consistent patterns, emotional patterns and behavior patterns. So this is both internal and external. And they're relentless about writing their story. They're relentless about finding the people they're looking for. They're relentless about locking on to their target, whatever that target is, and staying there because they know they get one shot. So I want you to be relentless and be more focused on consistency than big bursts of willpower. And that's how to really shift your energy and keep your plane in the air. Many of you have heard that analogy. I want you to keep your plane in there. I don't want you to keep landing your plane and then spending a couple days with it on the ground and then having to take off again, right? Keep your plane in the air. That's consistency. The second thing is that people are, is this truthful? Transparent. Transparent, that's an element of it for sure. Transparent and authentic. Or transparency and authenticity. I'm all about transparency and vulnerability. And in today's world, you're going to attract integrity-filled people with your transparency more than pretending that you have all your stuff together and that you don't have any problems and that you're the world's first perfect Mary Kay consultant. So don't try to show up and try to hide your flaws. Just be real. Be you. People are drawn toward realness. And if you create a culture of realness and a culture of authenticity, you're going to have more connection with the group, and they will be more connected to you, more connected to the opportunity, more connected to themselves. And those are all ingredients of the recipe for success. The third one here, I love this one. The world's most successful recruiters are eternally optimistic. Most people are conditionally optimistic. Most people feel good about life when life treats them well, right? Well, you can't feel good about the conditions. That's the opposite direction. You're putting these two things in the wrong order. You got to feel good first. You got to look for the good in everything first, and then you'll find it. but you got to do it eternally. It can't be conditionally. Most people are conditionally motivated. They're conditionally happy. They're conditionally optimistic. They're conditionally inspired. Conditional motivation will never get you to your goals. You've got to be eternally, never-ending, optimistic and motivated. It doesn't mean you can't have a bad day. It doesn't mean you're not going to dip. I mean, you know, my last bad day was like 48 hours ago, right? So it's not like you're ever just going to get to this place where you never dip into this negativity. But how quickly can you get yourself back out of it? How much more committed can you be to eternal optimism and motivation and inspiration rather than conditional? Number 4 is, what is it? Not sarcastic, not selective. That's what it was. I knew it wasn't sarcastic. Selective memory. What if you just decided to remember the things that serve you better? What if you decided to remember all of your successes and you didn't have to just dwell on all the failures? You have that ability as a human being. Your brain really can just focus on one channel instead of the other. It's like a channel on TV, right? If you don't like what you're watching, change the channel. If what you're watching causes negativity, it causes you irritation, it causes you to feel bad, then just change the channel to something that causes you to feel good. What if you just did that with your memories? What if you did it with your stories? What if you did it with your language? What if all you did was tell stories and think about things that made you feel good? Your experience of life would be different. Your experience in Mary Kay would totally be different. And all of this is really going to end up in you living more in gratitude and joy. And I don't know about you, I don't know about what your words are, but this is the way I want to experience life. And I think most human beings have some version of this as the reason that they're here. Maybe it's to spread more of that to their family, to their friends, to the planet, whatever that is. But regardless of the words that you choose, you're here to experience some element of this and to share some version of that. And the more that you live in that energy, the more that you show up that way, the more inviting you're going to be, the more people will join your business, I promise you. And the more fun you'll have. Even if you didn't get more results in recruiting, you would just have more fun. And that by itself is reason enough to do this. But I promise you, your results will increase dramatically because you're going to be more magnetic. That's why I titled this Magnetic Recruiting. You're going to be more magnetic rather than trying to chase people down and rope them and change their mind and get them to join the company. That's not what it's about. It's about living in the way that you want to live, living in the fulfillment of your values, and just inviting people to share that experience with you. And the more that you do that, the more success you'll have in Mary Kay, but the more fulfillment you'll have in life. And then Mary Kay can be a life-changing tool for you that it was meant to be. And it can be a different experience for you. And you can disconnect from any negativity that we talked about earlier on so that you can reconnect with who you truly are, with your core self, with your joy, with your happiness. And you can just ultimately, you can live a better life. And what I know is that when we look back on our lives, when we're taking our final breaths or we're on that deathbed and we're looking back and saying, how did I do this thing? How did I do this thing called life? Right? My Creator gave me a gift, and how did I do it? How did I use it? How did I enjoy it? When you're looking back, it won't matter what you achieved. It won't matter how much money you had in your bank account at any point in your life. It won't matter whether you actually ever drove that pink Cadillac. What will matter to you is how did you live? Not what did you do, but how did you be? How did you affect the planet? How did you affect yourself? How did you affect your family? How did you leave a legacy, and what legacy did you leave? And if that's what's most important to you at a deeper level, and what will be most important to you when you judge your life, then my invitation to you is live every single day more committed to that, because that's most important to you anyway. It's not about getting those final orders in. It's not about crossing that line to directorship. It's not about that stuff. All of that will be a byproduct of you living your pink truth. So again, I want you to hashtag my pink truth. I want you to tell me what your purpose is. I want you to tell me what your passion is. I want you to tell me what your sacred path is. And I want you to live that. I want you to own that. I want you to guard that pen, claim that as your journey from this point forward, and don't let anybody, even for a second, take that away from you. Because the truth is, you are in control of your life. You're in control of your business. You're in control of every thought you have. You're in control of your emotions. And you're in control of how you experience this gift. So hopefully this has been valuable. I'd love to continue the engagement. I want you to continue posting here. You can tag me, hashtag MyPinkTruth. I want you to send me emails, whatever however you can get in touch with me. I want you to just let me know if there was something that really affected you in this conversation, or something that really changed your energy or changed your perspective on something. How did you take anything that we talked about and implement it today, tonight, this weekend, later on, and how did it affect your experience of Mary Kay? Or maybe it caused you to have some success in Mary Kay that you hadn't had before. Please, I want to hear all of that stuff so that we can help you celebrate. And we're going to come to you. We're going to provide you with this new platform. It's not ready yet. We're going to provide you with this new platform where you can share more of your story. You can talk about your pink truth and overcome and overwhelm the negativity that's out there inside of anybody else's mouth, so that we can build a new mountain, and we can really feed this mountain with positivity and empowerment and encouragement. And I can't wait for this to happen, and I can't wait to officially invite you when that happens. So for those of you that are going to join us, I can't wait to lock arms with you. Fantastic. If this is the end of the road for you with us for now, then that's great too. Fantastic. But remember, we're closing this in a few days. So if you want to join, jump in any way, either way, whatever your decision is, live a good life. I'm going to leave you with the final words that my dad left me. When I asked him, Dad, how can I live your legacy? He said, Shawnee, be who you can be, do what you can do, and live a good life. So I want you to be who you can be, do what you can do, live a good life, control your experience on the planet and specifically in Mary Kay. And we're here to support you in any way. So with that, everyone, good night. God bless. Have a great rest of your evening, day, whenever you're watching this. And we'll talk to you real soon.